shadow of death. Jane Harlow was born in 1956 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. To everyone in town, the Harlows looked like a proper, God-fearing family. Her father, William Harlow, was a respected church deacon, a man who preached discipline and holiness. But behind the closed doors of their fading farmhouse, he ruled with cruelty, not faith. Her mother, Eleanor, rarely spoke. She wore long sleeves in summer and flinched whenever her husband entered the room. She told Jane and her younger siblings to obey and endure, as if pain was some sort of holy duty. By 12 years old, Jane knew how to clean injuries without crying. By 14, she had learned how to shield her siblings from her father's rage. And by 16, she no longer believed God lived in their house. The nights were the worst. Her father would read scripture with one hand and hold a belt in the other. He said pain drove out sin. He said obedience brought salvation. But Jane only felt fear, cold, breath-stealing fear that never left her bones. One winter evening, Jane found her brother Thomas curled on the kitchen floor, his lip bleeding, his arm twisted at a wrong angle. Her father stood over him, breathing heavily. Something broke inside her. That night, while the house slept, Jane packed a small canvas bag, a faded dress, a loaf of bread, her mother's silver locket, and slipped out the back door. Snow soaked her shoes as she ran into the woods, but she didn't stop. Not even when she heard her father shouting her name into the trees. She never looked back. Jane made her way to New York over weeks, hitchhiking, sleeping in abandoned barns, trading labor for rides. By the time she reached the city, her shoes were falling apart and her ribs were showing beneath her coat. New York was not gentle. She slept in subway stations, church steps, and alleyways that smelled of rot and gasoline. Some people were kind. Most looked away. A few tried to hurt her. She learned how to disappear, how to be quiet, how to survive. Still, she refused to go back. The invitation came one cold night. In early 1973, Jane was sitting by the river behind an old warehouse, shivering beneath a torn blanket, when a woman approached her. She wore a long black coat and a silver pendant with a symbol Jane didn't recognize. Her voice was calm and warm, too warm for such a freezing night. "You don't belong out here," the woman said. "Come with me. We have food, warmth. No one will hurt you at our home. We call it Sardu House." Jane hesitated. Kindness had always come with a price, but her hands were numb, her stomach empty for 2 days, and the woman's eyes held no judgment, only calm certainty. So, Jane followed her. The house stood at the edge of the river, an old warehouse, half hidden behind iron gates and withered trees. Dark windows, stone steps, a place that looked like it had been waiting for her. Inside, candles lit the hallway. Women moved quietly through the rooms dressed in black, their faces serene. They spoke to her gently. They gave her warm soup, clean clothes, a bed. For the first time in years, no one raised their voice. No one raised a hand to her. She should have felt safe. Instead, as she lay awake that first night, the silence felt unnatural, too perfect. And somewhere deep in the house, she thought she heard a whisper. Not a human voice. Something older. Something waiting. In a year, she was completely brainwashed and was now called Mary Beth. The winter of 1974 was unforgiving in New York City. The streets were cold, dirty, and mean, much like the life Jay Sean had grown up in. He was 21, but his eyes held the weight of someone twice that age. He'd survived gang violence, drug deals gone wrong, and nights so dark, even the streetlights seemed afraid to shine. But survival isn't the same as living. That's why he started going to church. It was a small Catholic church on Fifth Avenue. Nothing special, the kind of place you'd walk past without noticing. But inside, It was quiet. No sirens, no gunshots, no shouting. Just candlelight, wooden pews, and the faint scent of incense. Jay didn't know if God listened to boys like him. He just knew he needed peace. That was where he first saw her. She always sat in the back pew, pale skin, long black hair, and dark eyes that almost never blinked. She didn't pray. She just watched. One night after Mass, she approached him. "You're Jay Sean," she said softly, her lips curling into a strange smile. "My name is Mary Beth. You should come to dinner sometime, at Sardu House. Everyone is welcome there." Jay hesitated. Something about her felt wrong. But he was tired of being alone, tired of being suspicious of every act of kindness. So he said yes. The house sat near the river, tucked between empty warehouses and rusted fences. From the outside, it looked abandoned. Shattered windows, chipped paint, a door that creaked with the wind. But when Jay stepped inside, everything changed. Warm lanterns glowed along the walls. Women, only women, moved gracefully through the halls, all dressed in black. Their smiles were too wide, their eyes too calm. "Welcome, Jay," they whispered, like they'd been waiting for him. Mary Beth led him to a long wooden table set for dinner. No men, no children. Only women in black dresses, watching him quietly. Jay forced a smile and sat down. "I'll get the soup," Mary Beth said, and disappeared into the kitchen. That was when Jay noticed a door slightly open at the end of the hallway. Curiosity tugged at him. He stood and walked toward it. Inside was a dark room filled with candles, hundreds of them. In the center stood a towering statue of a demon, carved from black stone, horned, winged. Its eyes were hollow pits. At its feet was a name scratched in silver. Books lay open on a nearby table, texts about summoning, sacrifice, blood rituals. The walls were covered in symbols drawn in red. Jay's heart hammered in his chest. Something inside him screamed to run. He turned, crashed through a window, and landed hard on cold concrete outside. It was the yard of an abandoned warehouse by the river. Ignoring the pain in his knees, he sprinted all the way home, never looking back. For weeks, Jay said nothing to anyone. He stopped going to church. He stopped walking past the river. At night, he dreamed of candles, black eyes, and stone wings. When he finally told his friends, they laughed. "Man, you got played," one of them said. "Just some weird chicks doing cosplay or satanic drama stuff. Relax." Jay tried to believe them, tried to forget the statue of Sardu, tried to convince himself it was a prank. Snow dusted the streets on Christmas Eve. The church bells rang softly through the cold air. After months away, Jay stepped inside the church again, hoping to feel something. Hope, forgiveness, anything. After Mass, as people walked out singing carols, Jay froze. Across the street, standing beneath a flickering street lamp, was Mary Beth. But she looked different. Her hair was tangled, her face pale with fear, her black dress torn. "Mary?" Jay said as he crossed the street slowly. "What are you doing here?" "I have nowhere to go," she whispered, stepping closer. "Something is after me." Before Jay could ask more, every streetlight lining the block shattered, one by one. A scream of electricity, glass raining onto the snow. The world went black. Out of the darkness came a sound, not footsteps, a dragging, whispering sound, like shadow scraping against the ground. "Run," Mary Beth breathed. Jay grabbed her hand and they ran. Central Park was the quickest route home. The trees stood like dark skeletons against the snowy sky, and their breath came out in white clouds. Behind them, something moved, following, not running, gliding. They heard it before they saw it. A low, distant growl, a chill colder than winter itself. Then it appeared, tall, twisted, a shape made of darkness, darker than the night around it. No face, just eyes like burning ash. Mary screamed as it reached for her, Jay yanked her into the bushes, both of them holding their breath as the shadow prowled past. Its head turned slowly, sniffing the air, searching. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, it moved away. "Now!" Jay whispered. They ran. The park gate came into view. Salvation. Freedom. But at the last second, Mary slipped, falling to her knees in the snow. "Get up!" Jay shouted, pulling back. She stood. But instead of following him right toward his home, she ran left. "Mary, no!" he yelled. She didn't hear him, or didn't listen. The shadow followed, silent, swift. For a moment, Jay stood frozen, torn between fear and guilt. In the end, he ran home. For days, Jay locked himself in his apartment. No sleep, no peace, just guilt. Then the newspapers came. Warehouse fire by the river. 24 women dead. One photograph made his blood run cold. Among the burned bodies and broken walls was a face. Her name was listed as Jane Harlow. But Jay knew that face. Mary Beth. The newspapers called them the Church of Sadhu, a death cult. Some believed they summoned something they couldn't control. Others said a sacrifice had escaped. Maybe Jay was meant to die that night. Maybe Mary was trying to save him. Maybe she failed. Jay never went to the river again, never stepped foot in Sadhu House. Most of all, he never, ever took the shortcut through Central Park at night. Because sometimes, when the streetlights flicker and the wind carries the soft sound of footsteps that aren't there, he feels like something is still following him. And he knows. Some shadows don't disappear. They wait. The end.